Is this a Robin?
My brother's wire broke once. I swung out and grabbed him. My father said I was his hero. I flew in like a robin. Some hero I turned out to be.
Ah, but your father was right. You are a hero, I can tell.
Throw this away, will you, Alfred? I won't be needing it anymore.
I think I'll just put it in here. Broken wings mend in time. One day Robin will fly again. I promise.
Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
Talking about the tales where the shadows crawl. Chapter by chapter, we've covered it all. From the capes and cows to the darkest night. Every film, every fight, a fan's delight. Turn the page, Gotham's glory awaits. Batman on film, where legends create. Oh, we ride through the Gotham skies. From the bat's rise to the villain's eyes. Turn the reels where the story is bright. A Batman on film, the legends alive. Break down the madness, scene by scene, where the city's pulse and our dreams convene. From the old to the new, the saga unfolds. A vigilante sail in the echoing cold. Step into Gotham where justice turns. Through words and whispers, the bat returns. Oh, we ride through the Gotham skies. From the bat's rise to the villain's eyes. Turn the reels where the story is bright. I'm Batman on film, the legend's alive. In the shadow of the night, tales untold. Pages turn as the saga unfolds. Join the journey in this timeless quest. Batman on film stands above the rest. Oh, we ride through the Gotham skies. From the bat's rise to the villain's eyes. Turn the reels where the story is bright. I'm Batman on film, the legend's alive.
Welcome to Batman on Film Chapter by Chapter, a Batman on Film podcast, batman-on-film.com. This is Chapter 7 of Batman Forever, chapter by chapter. One day Robin will fly again. And joining me is senior BOF contributor, Ryan Hoss. Hoss, you've not been on this chapter by chapter. Have you done a chapter by chapter? Right. Yeah, you've done some of the other ones, right?
I've done some of the other ones, yeah.
Okay.
But first on Batman Forever.
Okay, I am merely Bill Ramey, the founder of Batman on Film, and Batman Forever turns 30 years old this year, this June specifically, and I always start off with when someone's new to the series of the movie that we're discussing. I ask, okay, what's your story? So what's your Batman Forever story?
Yeah, my Batman Forever story. So, wow. If you're a long-time BOFer, some of this will sound familiar to you, but this is fun to do it in the chapter by chapter format when new people come on. So, I was let's see, 1995, I was in second grade, which is crazy because I'm just making the realization this is the same age my daughter is right now. So, which is just
That's
mind
how life
blowing.
goes, Ryan. Okay.
I know, but
My
I'm trying to
daughter
put
turns my
myself.
daughter turns 30 this year. So there you go. I win.
Oh,
I win
my
that one. Go
goodness,
ahead.
you do win. But mentally, it puts myself back in those shoes as a kid. Um, the first Batman movie I saw in the theater was Batman Returns, and I was definitely too young to see it. So I don't remember too much about it. But Batman Forever was the first Batman movie that I very like was so fully into the anticipation all the way into
Yeah.
seeing it in the theater, and got into the merch and the toys and the that was when I first started going to the comic store, that era. So I would go in the comic store and see like the trading cards, and I got like the big promo, like everything was like metal and chrome and the shiny chrome cards and all that. Um, and because I was so young, I wasn't really into I didn't get Starlog or any of the magazines, like their
Mhm.
internet. We didn't have any of that stuff. So I just learned about things either through friends at school, or maybe the comic book store owner would tell me stuff, or maybe my parents would see something. So I remember um, walking in the grocery store, like when you would leave the grocery store, they would have the newspaper machines. And I remember my dad noticing the newspaper, and he was like, "Oh, look, there's Batman on the newspaper." It was like the front page of USA Today or something like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
And it was the story that uh, Michael Keaton was out as Batman. And I was like, even as a 7 year old or whatever, in second grade, I was like, this is like heartbreaking. This is terrible. What's going to
I was going to
happen? Are
ask
they
you,
not going to make the movie?
yeah, I was going to ask if did you even remember the
Yeah,
the
yeah,
transfer from Keaton, the change
yeah.
because it was
Even as a kid, yeah, I remember
yeah.
like seeing the newspaper article and being quite concerned that this was different. This thing that I had just gotten into could all be crumbling down. Um, And then I kind of put it out of mind for a while, thinking like, well, okay, maybe they'll still make the movie and all that. And the next thing I remember was just watching watching TV, and one of the kids like Nickelodeon or something, and then all of a sudden uh a trailer or a commercial came out for Batman Forever, and it was the first thing I'd ever seen. Today we have trailers for trailers and
Hmm.
announcements for trailers, and you know when things are going to come out. But just imagine second grade Ryan just like watching TV, and boom, all of a sudden
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah.
There's Batman Forever. It's coming out. And I remember tearing up, crying, and telling myself it's so beautiful. I think I maybe even uttered it out loud when I because it was just the music and like the score and the imagery, and like it was like, oh my gosh, it's here. So I was so incredibly excited um to see that. And yeah, like it was a really unforgettable summer when that movie came out, and it felt like the vibe in the theater just opening weekend, it just felt like joy. Like honestly, it was like everybody was happy. Like
Hmm.
we did it. Like all of the dour feelings maybe after Batman Returns, it just
Hmm.
felt like had washed away, really. It just felt
Yeah.
like that was damn fun.
Yes.
And that's the vibe I got from me, from my family, from everybody in theater. Just the energy. I remember the energy just being really great that summer. Because then you had
Hmm.
like, and then it lasted all summer. Because you
Sure.
had, I remember going to
Well, you go on
like summer
MTV and
school.
then everything was Seal and
Exactly.
YouTube,
Exactly. Exactly. Summer school, we'd be in the gym. They would just play music all day while we're playing, kickball in the gym or whatever, and they'd be playing the Batman Forever or Space Jam
Yeah.
soundtracks. And then they had the video game out and all that kind of stuff. So like, yeah, Batman Forever was just definitely kind of everywhere.
I
And then
remind
yeah.
people, I try to on this, especially on this series, Batman Forever has kind of gotten, it's gotten a bad rep and a bad rap,
Hmm.
bad rep and rap that's unfair and not true. I
Hmm.
guess because of it's lumped in with Batman and Robin.
Right.
Batman Forever was a huge hit. It was a huge
Yeah.
hit. Val Kilmer coming on board as Batman was kind of a breath of fresh air because of after Batman Returns, and Val Kilmer was big. He was a big, he
Yeah.
was coming off Tombstone and The Doors and other things.
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
was like an A-list hot lead actor at that time.
Yeah. It was the
And
highest grossing movie of the year. I mean, people, I
yeah,
mean, it's
yeah,
like you can't deny that.
yes. And and there was like a mini Batmania, that
Hmm.
surrounded it. I wouldn't put it, it's not up there with Dark Knight or Batman 89,
Hmm.
but there was its own little version of Batmania that I think
Hmm.
that's like the only Batman film other than the ones I mentioned that had that kind of impact, cultural
Yeah.
impact, cultural happening with it.
Yeah, and
So yeah.
I think by that point the fact that it was like bigger, bolder, more fun, and Robin with the two villains, and
Hmm.
Jim Carrey was like the
Yes.
hottest star
Yeah.
on the planet. Like
Yeah.
I think a mini Batmania is a good term because it really it did that thing where it like hit all. I'm sure Warner Brothers was ecstatic, right? Because it
Well,
hit all these
they
quadrants
greenlit a sequel that
in two
immediately, and it was
years.
out 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and like it's like just imagine it's like the heyday of like Blockbuster and video rental. I remember when it came out on video, you would go in and they had my local store, Popcorn Video, had like the giant standee of like Batman Forever, and it stayed
Hmm.
in there for months. Yeah, it was just it was kind of everywhere. And I'm curious, like in your mind, what obviously we know Batman 89 was Batmania. It was
Hmm.
huge. Batman Forever, I remember the hype and the hype train a lot more. I remember being really into Batman Returns, and I remember some of the merch and the McDonald's stuff, but like in between, like how Batmania-ish was it for Returns, being right in between like the big one and like a mini one for Batman Forever. Like how would you compare Batman
it
Forever's hype to Returns?
it was bigger. I think there was that anticipation with Returns because it was coming off of Batman, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
then the movie, and I'm
Did
not
it
trying
die
to
off after the movie came out more
with
with
Batman
Returns?
Returns. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, and I'm not trying to dump on Batman Returns, but it was a disappointing film overall.
Hmm.
It's the reason why there were so many, change in director and ultimately a change
Yeah.
in the star and whatnot.
Hmm.
And the way you describe Batman Forever, the happy, people were happy and it was fun.
Yeah.
That 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 was the vibe. Um, with that film when it came out, it kind of you kind of just forgot about the disappointment of Batman Returns. You still
Hmm.
liked, Batman 89 was Batman 89 and it was always going to be what it was.
Hmm.
And you felt good about the future of the series, you
Yeah.
know?
You walked out of that theater like, hell yeah, when's the next one?
Yeah, yes.
It was the way I
Yeah.
felt. Yeah.
And as we know, it came crashing to
Yeah.
just a halt
Yeah.
2 years later. And that's uh, there's just so many, you look at these four films, there's so many decisions. If they had done this, well, maybe, this wouldn't have happened. I believe that
Yeah.
if Batman, and we're going to get to this movie, but I'm talking history
Yeah.
here, it's Batman history. But
Yeah.
I've always said Batman Forever was such a hit. Boom, there's Batman and Robin, which was,
Hmm.
disaster. But if Batman and Robin had been more like Batman Forever and had the same reaction, and they did Batman Unchained, which we called Batman Triumphant Forever until Mark Protasevich corrected people a few years ago. I don't know if we would have gotten the Nolan films ultimately.
Right. Yeah.
I think they would have
probably would have gotten more of that, or we probably would have got an earlier Batman versus Superman.
Yeah,
because
I
they
think
kept trying to do Batman Superman.
It was. I think they would have just ran it into to where I don't know how far you could take it, and then we probably wouldn't have got the Nolan films. And then if you didn't get the Nolan films, you don't get Dark Knight, and Dark Knight was such a game changer for the genre that I'm thinking. What would even the genre
affects Marvel?
Be?
It affects everything.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get to this chapter. Again, one day Robin will fly again. And we start at the Hippodrome. Bruce Wayne is attending the benefit circus. He's taking Chase Meridian as his date. And it kind of starts, he comes in and there's Gossip Gertie. What do you think of the character of Gossip Gertie? Did kind of a annoying character that I think was supposed to be annoying, So
if you really want to put it in your head canon, you got to see Gossip Gertie in Batman Returns even. Because as we know, even as a kid, I knew, because I got I was a voracious reader at that age. I got the the movie magazine and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the wife of Bob Kane. It's the creator of Batman's wife. I thought that was cool. And watching things like Batman the Animated Series, they had like Summer Gleason and like different reporters. So I thought it was cool that there was a character like that in this series. But I was still, even as a kid, disappointed. Like, well, where's Knox? I want Knox back still. But I thought that was cool, and I think it's cool that they maintain Gossip Gertie between the Schumacher movies. She feels like a very comic booky character. I can imagine this character being in the comics.
Yes, it's kind of like, she says, "Oh, Bruce Wayne, who's your date?" And he said, "This is Dr. Chase Meridian," and it's just a doctor. What kind of doctor? And I was that always kind of like, okay, that's kind of goofy, but whatever. And that I think it was supposed to be. Yeah, it was supposed to be. Yeah. So you also there injected. Cut in throughout this scene is there's Edward Nygma at home watching on TV. So I guess they're broadcasting this circus benefit circus for some reason, or maybe they were doing a news report, and then when the Two-Face thing began, they just kept it there. So whatever. And essentially, this entire scene is it's the introduction of Dick Grayson / this version of Robin into Batman Forever and this continuity. That's again, officially the four films are in the same continuity.
Right.
You can individually separate them if you want. That's just up to the viewer. And we've gotten the continuation of the Burton stuff in comic book and novel forms here lately.
We have divergent paths here, but in terms of these four movies, they are connected, and we'll get into more of that as this chunk continues.
So we got the Fine Graysons. I thought just the look. Of course, you get with the costumes, you get where the Robin suit comes from. So I like that, instead of he's just this bright orange green character for no other reason, but they kind of give that a background, and at the same time you got that. Then they interject the whole kind of a Superman, Clark Kent, Lois Lane dynamic with Batman, Bruce Wayne, Chase Meridian, where Bruce asked, during he's sitting there at the circus, almost said concert, and he asked her to go out on a date rock climbing, and she's like, "Oh, I met someone," and so, and he just swooped out of the sky, and and she's like, I'm sure he felt it too, and I sure did. So they had that whole kind of, oh, what do you mean you sure did? Oh, anybody would have think anyway. So you
Yeah.
got that going on here as well, and then Two-Face shows up. So what's your
Hmm.
thoughts? This whole, at the beginning with the Brian Graysons and they're clapping and they're
Yeah.
watching and all that, and they're doing their trapeze stuff. Yeah, I thought it's very loyal to the comic books for
Yeah,
the most
yeah, in a
part.
lot of ways, yeah. Yeah, I mean, rewatching this part, I was kind of impressed with how many, like in this chunk, like or this the circus scenes particularly, like how many story threads it's juggling, even when you're not
Yeah,
like super, and like it just kind of feels almost effortless. It's like everything building to the building in the movie kind of like really coalesces there for all the characters, really, like all of your main characters. Because you've got Edward Nygma watching it, and
yes,
he's already pissed. He's already wanting to do something, but then he sees like what Two Face does, and he's inspired enough by that, and that's why he like seeks Two Face out. Um, so like even Two Face and Riddler get some things there. Of course, Two Face has just this one track mind just to kill Batman the whole time, but I wasn't too taken aback by uh changing, Tony Zuko into Two Face. That always made sense as being kind of a big um, departure to make like the big villain one of the killers of or the killers of the Graysons, and they use it to their advantage in this movie because it lets Dick Grayson relate to Bruce more
yeah,
because the Joker killed Bruce Wayne's
yeah. I
parents. I
was
always
I
thought
was
that poetry actually kind of really worked
there's
for me.
watching these films again, and when you watch them in this detail, I still I pick up things. This movie's 30 years old, and I picked up some stuff that I
Totally.
didn't realize before. And I
Yeah.
just like right now, I just realized there's kind of that dynamic of Jack Napier, the Joker, killed the Waynes, whereas Two
Hmm.
Face, Harvey Dent killed
Hmm.
Dick Grayson's
Yeah.
parents, and so there's this
Yeah.
same they can both relate to that. I think they did
Yeah.
that's done really well, and it makes perfect sense. I know there are probably some comic book nerds like, oh my god, that's not accurate. It was Tony Zuko, blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
there are things you can change from comic
Yeah.
books to film that kind of make more sense sometimes, and
That
it
or
works
it can sometimes be better. Yeah.
better. And it
And then the
yeah
narrative of these films, it really works. And even as a tangential connection, a lot of many Robin year one stories or early Robin stories um have Two Face as the villain. You look at Chuck
yeah
Dixon's Robin Year One, like and then that gets retold in some other like more in continuity, like single issues, like in Prodigal and things like that. After Nightfall, like Two Face is kind of a big, but I think or like in Tim Drake's origin, even The Only Place of Dying, like it's like Two Face is like Robin's villain. So I
mhm,
think that's like kind of a really cool comparison there. And for the yeah, the Jack Napier, Joe Chill killed my parents like connection. Um, I think the movie's actually really smart because they don't ever mention the Joker by name, but it is that version of the character.
mhm,
Even like later on in the film, um, Dick Grayson's like, your parents weren't killed by
mhm.
a psychopath or whatever, and then Bruce says, yes, they were. That
Yeah,
like that connection's there
yeah,
in this scene, in this chapter by chapter scene. Um, they do this really, you're like rewarded for being a fan of the earlier films because Bruce is thinking back to having those flashbacks of what happened to his parents,
yeah,
and they like recreate the Joe Chill like
yes.
gun in the mist, and he kind of, you don't see his face, but he kind of like fades back
It's the
into the mist.
same,
Like that's
almost.
the
It's this
same
same
shot
same shot as the Jack Napier
as
from Batman '89. Yeah,
exactly. So they're not going out of their way to beat you over the head with the continuity, but it's there if you're looking for it. Yeah.
yeah. And there's I did my homework. Then do I need to wear skin tight vinyl? And and
And a
carry a
whip.
whip.
Yeah, like you got that.
So,
Mm-hmm.
um, the Flying Graysons are going through. They're going to do the death drop without the safety of a net, and it kind of
Mm-hmm.
it spotlights Richard Grayson, the youngest Richard, Dick Grayson,
Mm-hmm.
and Chris O'Donnell, of course, plays Dick Grayson / Robin in this film. To me, I thought it was really good casting. I think
Yeah.
he could. I just not to get into the Robin thing. I think Dick Grayson he's supposed to be like 16, 17 in this
Right.
film.
Yeah.
I think that was just he's still a juvenile to where he would have to be taken in by a family or a foster home or somehow, because he's not considered an adult, but he's not this really small, he's not a 13-year-old child. So
Yeah.
and I know Chris O'Donnell was like 23, 24 when he played
Mm-hmm.
Robin in this film,
Mm-hmm.
but he is playing someone who's 16, 17. And
Right.
I know people like criticize that, like Chris O'Donnell like 35 years old and I was like, no, he's supposed to be 17. And
Yeah.
I mean, no one says anything about the Spider-Man actors who are like 50 playing teenage,
Right. Right.
whatever.
Right.
So what's your whole take? What's your thoughts on how they depicted Dick Grayson Robin in this, Chris O'Donnell being
Mm-hmm.
cast and whatnot?
Yeah, like I always really liked Chris O'Donnell as Robin. I feel like he had the right, like his voice, his Robin voice, I feel is really just the way he embodies the character is real. It feels
Yeah.
like Dick Grayson to me, like bar none. It feels very similar to Lauren Lester in the animated series in a lot of ways. Just that, like his energy and the way he just like he has this like internal anger, and that comes across really well, especially in these scenes where he just calls him like Bruce and blah blah blah. Like I always saw this as like, oh, this is a character that I can believe will become like Nightwing,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. That
Well, he's pretty much Nightwing in Batman and Robins,
well, pretty much, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
totally.
Except,
He's like most of the way there, yeah, for sure. So yeah, I always liked his portrayal. Robin was created primarily out of a desire to get like kids to be able to see
Yes.
themselves as Batman's partner.
Yeah.
And this worked for me that way as a kid too. It's like I always see like this marketing thing on that I've heard about for like any children's toys is like whatever age demographic you're going for, the kid on the box is like a little bit older, but on purpose. So a kid that's younger can like see themselves being like the slightly older cool kid playing with the toy or whatever. And I feel like that's kind of intentional or unintentional. That's kind of the way I felt about it as a kid, because I was like, oh, like I'm not Robin now as like a second grader, but like I'm closer. I'm closer to getting to be like old enough to be like the Robin in these Batman movies, the Batman. So I feel like that's kind of something there that was in the back of my head. And I feel like they could just kind of do more with it. He can ride a motorcycle. He has these emotions. Like there's just more they can do with it on film. And the more that you go into this film, I just feel like it just gave them more leeway. It just made it a little bit more believable as like
Bruce
a person.
Bruce is kind of more
in the
of
middle of their.
He's more of a big brother type figure.
Yeah, big brother, mentor. Yeah.
Mentor. Yeah, absolutely. So Dick Grayson, we've seen pull off the death drop. So we know he's got lots of acrobatic skills, Okay.
Yeah.
And then of course Two-Face and his goons show up, and he does a whole he's dressed kind of crazy, which is fine because it's Two-Face, with the top hat and all that.
The ringleader, yeah.
But I do like his dialogue here kind of reminds me of the opening scene where, he's your gambling man, and I thought
Yeah.
those two are the best Two-Face moments in the movie to me, because he is Tommy Lee Jones is not as over the top, he
Right.
still cackles
Right.
and does that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but the dialogue itself is really good. He's like, invites it to absolute chaos and true
Yeah.
justice,
And True
and he's got,
Justice.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's got the big bomb. It's 200 sticks of TNT, and then but he wants,
You have 2 minutes.
yeah, you got 2 minutes,
Yeah.
of course, and he's saying, someone here, one of you, get your Gotham's well to do, and not blah blah blah. Someone here knows who Batman is. Of course, the audience is like, we know the answer to that. We're in on that. We know who Batman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, y'all, it's Bill Ramey, founder of Batman on Film. Let's take a quick pause in this podcast for these words from our sponsor. It's basically, I'm going to blow this place up unless someone, rats out and tells us who Batman is. And he goes, maybe even one of you pasty-faced twits are Batman.
Yeah.
We go, yeah, Bruce Wayne, here he is. He's right there.
Yeah.
As the audience. And so then it's just this chaos. And but we also, with this going on, we get to see Dick Grayson. We realize, well, he's a hero. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk about that. This whole thing. And Bruce stands up, Harvey, I'm Batman, but no one hears him because everybody's screaming. And
yeah. It's it was crazy to see all of those things kind of converge. It got me as a kid to be like, oh my gosh, like Bruce Wayne just stood up and said he was Batman, but it got to sink in, but that's kind of like, you're kind of but that doesn't work because they're trying to reason with the madman. I was like, of course, like what Two-Face wanted to happen did, but his plan is so ill-advised, like that it doesn't work, because like Batman literally stood up and tried to, give him what he's asking for, but it's just too loud, and it just won't work. But it creates this situation, of course, this dramatic situation where later in the film, like they have to kind of reason with that. Bruce and Dick have to reason with that. Yeah, it's like all of the Flying Graysons are heroes. Like this feels like that was like a family decision. They're like, hey, we can, because they have it in the scene. It's like, oh, we can stop that. Let's do this. It feels like this is, it's kind of interesting because it subtly drives home this sense of like that's probably instilled in Dick Grayson about like, hey, teamwork is and being part of like a team is how to solve these problems. And so it makes sense that as the movie progresses that that's the way Dick wants to approach this, as like, I need to be your partner. It's not like, ooh, I just want to be hanging around with Batman and do cool stuff. It's like, I was in a team in the Flying Graysons, and now I want to, like, Batman needs a partner, to solve this like issue, face.
There's all this chaos going on. That's why we don't, no one hears Bruce admit he's Batman, but he does go in Batman mode. He jumps down onto the floor, and does some Batman kicking ass, but there's just so much going on. And then Dick Grayson's and the Graysons are getting the bomb out. Dick is able to bring it to the roof and drop it into the water. Two-Face, he flips the coin, it lands. He says, "Our kind of day," and then he shoots, and breaks the cables are all broke, and they lose their grip and their footing.
And because the net's gone because of the death drop, like it's like all of the things kind of, all the little seeds get planted for all that to happen.
And Two-Face, he checks out, and then when Dick comes back, looks down, his family, his parents and his brother are laying there on the floor, and they're dead. And then you see the circus people come surround them
around the circle.
That's a really it's emotional. It's deep. It's a deep scene,
Yeah.
and Dick
Mhm.
seeing them, and then Bruce's reaction, you know,
Yeah.
I thought it's really a great scene all the way around right there.
Yeah, like the way the movie handles these events and then the next couple scenes, like, is really kind of the emotional heart of the movie, along with, the Red Diary subplot. And without the Red Diary subplot really being super at the forefront as much as, other cuts of the movie, I feel
Yeah.
like this whole thing I mean, it ties in the Red Diary and everything ties into Bruce's approach with Robin. Like all
Yes.
those things are really intertwined. So it's definitely the emotional heart of the film.
It cuts now we get to back to Wayne Manor, where Commissioner Gordon is bringing Dick Grayson to Bruce and
Mm-hmm.
Alfred.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, he's on his motorcycle, which that's kind of like he rides a motorcycle.
Yeah.
He's cool, it's got
Yeah.
kind of thing
Yeah,
going
I
on.
had the action figure. They had the sweet like
Yeah.
biker Robin action figure. I think I might have a sealed one over here. But I had that.
Yeah.
He's got like the motorcycle jacket, and you had like a rip cord. You could just rip it, and it
Yeah.
would make the wheels spin. I totally.
So, Bruce, Commissioner Gordon goes, thanks for taking him in, Bruce. He has an AIDS. He's, blah, 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 and Gordon's takes off. There's a little bit more Gordon. Gordon does a little bit more in Batman Forever. Not a lot.
Yes.
But a
Yes.
little bit,
Yes.
He's
more. I would say compared to Batman Returns, I would say a lot. I don't know if anybody's done the like the timestamps.
Yeah.
But I would wonder if he's got more. I wonder if he has more in presence in this movie than 89 even.
Yeah.
I bet they're close, if not maybe a little more in here.
Yeah.
He's
at the circus,
yeah,
as well.
Like he's at the circus. I wish they would have.
Yeah.
I almost wish they would have replaced the mayor with Gordon.
Yeah.
In that scene, because like the mayor shows up and
let him stand up and say, "What do you want, Harvey?"
Yeah, I think that would have been a little nicer, especially because Pat Hingle is like because of Gordon's relation to being the cop that was there when the Waynes died. I think that could have been a cooler little connection there, a little subtle connection.
It could have been,
yeah,
also, like it would have. I know, like in my fan mind, if it had been Gordon that stood up and said, "What do you want, Harvey?" I would have went, "Well, he knows Harvey because he used to be the DA and they were pals." And,
exactly.
Bruce and Batman and that whole thing. So
it's yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would have been nice.
So go ahead.
Yeah, but like and because of Gordon's connection to the Wayne murders, like it's interesting to see that perspective here where he gets to kind of do the same thing with Dick Grayson. Yeah, I really like seeing Gordon more in this film, and he has more to do, and I love having him see like actual scenes with Dick Grayson and Bruce. It's just cool to see this version of Gordon and Bruce like interact.
Yeah.
Even if it's brief, it's just a cool thing, and the more this scene goes on, really start to like seeing the chemistry between it's a really interesting triangle between Bruce, Dick, and Alfred, how they are all wanting to approach the situation. Yeah.
So Gordon leaves and Dick Grayson is watching. He goes, "Okay, I'm out of here," and thanks and no thanks. And so I like, because both Bruce and Alfred kind of,
they know what's going to happen, and they execute the plan. It felt very Batman Returns to me, where they just kind of look at each other and don't have to say anything. And Alfred does his thing, and Bruce does his thing. They're like, we're going to handle this.
Yeah, they kind of, they're kind of, I don't want to say they're playing head games with him, but they're using some sort of reverse psychology on him. To get him to stay. And he's like, "Oh, it's a nice bike. I got, the circus halfway to Metropolis by now. You got that little, Easter egg in there. And
yeah, totally.
but you can fill up. There's not a gas station for miles around here. You come to my garage and
They're breaking him down
fill it
slowly.
up. So it's like he's
Yeah.
probably figuring out, oh, he likes motorcycles. He maybe likes cars, that type of stuff. I
Yeah.
got this whole garage full. And so when he brings him in there, when Bruce brings Dick Grayson in there and sees all the cars, he's like, oh, wow, this is a such and such. This is a 19 whatever Harley. And this is a,
Yeah. His
Vincent
anger
Black Knight,
couldn't his anger bad boy persona couldn't outweigh all of the things pulling him back in just to stay. Yeah.
Yeah, and he says about the Vincent Black Knight, there's only like 100 of them. And Bruce goes, well, 101 actually. And he said, I've got a couple. And, if someone could fix one up, they could keep it as a fee. So he's, there you go. And Alfred brings in this huge plate of food, this big hamburger,
It's the McDonald's Hero Burger because they had the Batman Forever Hero Burger at the time.
And it's like, too bad, he's not staying, Alfred. Oh, that's a pity. I'll just toss it to the dogs, and he's like,
perhaps
wait up,
the dogs
Al.
are hungry.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
So I really like that scene as well. And it's like you said, Alfred and Bruce carry out their plan to perfection without even having to say a word. And they do look at each other and give each other this, these looks. It's very well done.
Yeah.
And this way we have a Bruce Wayne flashback. These scenes, I find that I enjoy them. And they make me a little mad because they didn't flesh out the Red Diary. And it's such, that Red Diary subplot is such a big deal, really, with this movie. And you only get a little bit of it. It's why the movie's called Batman Forever, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Instead of, people think, what's that have to do with what's Batman Forever mean? Well, if you'd seen more of the Red Diary subplot, you get it. So you got Bruce having this flashback. And there's the scene you brought up, like flashback to the Wayne murders, the funeral, the Red Diary fluttering. And him, Alfred kind of wakes him up and he's like, I killed them. And he said, what? And he's like, Two-Face, he killed them. He goes, you said no, you said you killed them. So we don't ever see resolution to that. That it's never explained because all that's cut out, essentially, for the most part.
Like, you don't get the satisfaction of like, oh, it's not his fault. And the with the expansion that you get in the cut scenes. Yeah.
And so again, but also what's nice about it Batman Forever really was and it could have been even more like a real psychological look at Bruce Wayne. And it's kind of neutered by the decision they made to take a lot of the subplot.
Yeah.
It's like there's some depth to the movie,
There is, especially as and part of me really wonders how the Michael Keaton version of this would have come across, because as a third movie in this like series that's ongoing, it's a kind of interesting thing about it's a really interesting thing where they try to actually address how Batman acts in the first two movies.
Yes.
I think there's even some cut scenes, right, with Two-Face and Batman where Two-Face is like trying to tell him, it's like in the helicopter where Two-Face is trying to tell Batman, you're a killer too, and which is true because of the Michael Keaton version of the character. And it's kind of like a really, the psychological exploration is like, it takes that Michael Keaton version of the character in the first two movies and kind of like explores like why he's like that. And by the time he comes out of this, he's like a better Batman.
It's almost, here I'm hitting another comparison in my mind. It's almost like it's similar to the Batman where Bruce and Batman have their epiphanies eventually in that film, when Bruce is in the hospital with Alfred, and
totally.
and of course, and Batman, at the end, so I can't. Vengeance is one thing. I need to be more. I need to be
Yeah,
more, and we'll
totally.
get more of that later. We'll see where that
Mm-hmm.
goes. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
get
There's
we
seeds
get
of that.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
we're getting that in Forever, and it's kind of overlooked. It's like, oh, it's just fun fluff popcorn stuff, but it's more to this movie than that. Bruce sees the bat signal, so that means Batman's got to go. Alfred goes to Dick Grayson's room, sees his helmet that we see that had a Robin on it. How'd you like the explanation, or what they came up with, the backstory, I guess, of why he is eventually called Robin? They give him a
Yeah.
reason instead of just
Yeah.
Robin. Why is it Robin?
Yeah.
Why? Because he kind of looks like
Yeah.
Robin. That's
Yeah. Yeah. I always thought like, um, the more I watch it, the more impressed I am with how hard they tried to give m more than a joking explanation of where Robin comes from. Like they didn't really take the easy way out. They just didn't do like, oh, the newspapers call him Robin, or just like there's like even in like Batman, the Batman 89 comic and stuff, there's just like some like goofier ways to kind of like make him called that. Um, I like the way that in this movie they do try to give it like an emotional core. Like it's
yeah,
kind of he had like this movie like in the comics it's like a even more of a mirror to like Bruce's story where it's just the parents and Dick Grayson, but in here they like give him a brother, and there's that story around the brother and saving him, and it's like he swooped in like a Robin, like
yeah, exactly.
it's like it's so intrinsic to his family and the teamwork and all that, and you see that like this was already something important to him, and that's why like he has a Robin on spray painted on his
Yeah,
motorcycle helmet, and and then they tie it a little bit into the I like how they took that and then they kind of tied into the acrobatic costumes, a
hmm
little bit more. So it just kind of, and then this scene here, it just is like Alfred hearing it's Alfred that does it all. Like Alfred
hmm
hearing all that. Um, you know, it's one of the best Alfred scenes like in the four movies.
yeah,
So he can like hear that, and it's Alfred. Alfred is the one that like plants that seed of like he should be called Robin, and like makes the outfit, and it's the embodiment of like the whole rest of the film. It's Alfred trying to tell Bruce like you need to like guide, be more of a guide.
hmm
I think Alfred's trying to influence Bruce to act more like him, as in Alfred. Like he need to
yeah,
be a mentor, not like
hmm
yeah. So like by the end of the movie, it's Alfred that like takes all of his approach to this. Like Bruce's approach is like, no, don't do anything, and also I'm not going to be Batman.
yeah. You're going to
Versus,
college, son.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's Alfred trying to teach Bruce how to be a better parent in a way
yeah.
because he's had this experience of parenting a vigilante. So he's trying to like do the most healthy thing that he can.
Well, it finishes
So I
up.
thought that was
Yeah,
really great.
yeah. I like the explanation of why he's Robin. I
Yeah,
know it's like originally he it was based on Robin Hood,
right.
and so
But
whatever.
being
But they
based on
did,
something isn't as like,
yeah.
is it's a cool basis, but having it
They have a reason
be fleshed out
that
in the story is
that
a better way to
works,
go.
where the fact that he saved his brother, and his father
Yeah,
said you swooped in like a Robin, so that
yeah,
means something to Dick Grayson personally.
yeah.
Um, Dick Grayson tells Alfred to throw his circus suit away. He's not going to need that anymore.
And I
And he
love
says,
that Alfred
"Yeah,
keeps it. He's like, let's keep it
yeah,
here. Yeah,
yeah.
broken wings mend in time. I'm sure Robin will
Broken
fly again.
wings,
I
mend
love
in
that
time.
line.
One day Robin will fly again. I promise." And
Yeah, yeah,
there's the basis for the title of this episode. I
yeah.
think the whole thing worked. It's one of the. This is me saying this. involving Robin, Ryan. I think the whole Dick Grayson circus, basically origin story, is one of the best scenes in the whole movie. It's really good.
I
It's
agree.
really done really well, and watching it and talking about it in the details made me appreciate it even more. So
Yeah.
there's where we are. Any just final thoughts on this whole it's like two extended scenes, or maybe even three, but it's really one together. It's hard to separate them.
It's looking at this scene in a vacuum like this is really interesting because it's like I was saying, it's where all of these story threads kind of come to a head. It's as much of the story as they can get going before the Riddler really takes over and
Yeah.
just kind of monopolizes like the
Yeah.
majority of the movie with the shenanigans and the constant, you know, action and crime and blah blah blah, you know, before
Yeah.
like the end of the movie kind of like brings everything together again. So I think it's like a really interesting culmination of all of the thematic things that Batman Forever is trying to do as a story, you know, before just the bombast and and all the you know crazy moments.
The over the top billing
Yeah,
billing acting with both Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones is
right.
about to be upon us as we move forward.
Yeah, exactly. Like the very next scene is, you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
Two-Face trying to dress up like an old lady and kill
Yeah.
Batman and blow up the Batmobile.
All
So
right. Well, hey, I'm glad you came on, especially for
yeah,
this scene. You got to come back talk more about Batman Forever as we get
totally.
through this. I got to get it done. I promised I'd get it done by the end of May, because in
Oh my
June
gosh.
we got to
Yeah,
do Batman Begins. We're doing chapter by chapter. So
yeah. Oh,
Batman
it's so good.
Begins, yeah, it's 20th anniversary, so which is crazy. One
Hmm.
thing I'm still tripping out that's watching this is the fact that Jim Carrey's Edward Nygma glasses were the exact same pair that
I know.
Paul
It's
Dano
crazy.
wore and the Batman,
Yeah.
you know, and
We
it's just
ever get to ask Matt Reeves, that has to be a question somebody gets to ask
it
Matt
is 100%
Reeves.
intentional. There's no doubt in my
Has
mind
to
about
be.
it. You know, it's just a
Yeah.
pair of glasses. And I'll bring this up real quick. I think I've talked to other ones about this. Is from watching this again. Like in the Batman, Edward Nygma or Edward Nashton is obsessed with Batman, and and
Hmm.
and in Forever, Edward Nygma is obsessed with Bruce Wayne. You know, it's just
Hmm. Yeah.
same, but they're one and the
Yeah.
same. They
Yeah.
don't
That
know it.
connection is so good. Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
they don't. The Riddlers, whatever version, doesn't know, but there's still, you know, there's a little bit of that. There's some similarities there. I don't know if Matt Reeves said, you know, let's just switch this around and make, you know, the Riddler obsessed with Batman, but it could be some sort of an influence. I mean, everything's
Yeah.
connected, Ryan. So, you
Yeah,
know,
it is. I mean, and to that end, you know, we've got this year's sequel book to Batman Resurrection, which is Batman Revolution, you know, and it's going to have like the tangent Burton version of Riddler in it.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
very interested to see if that is present in that book too. Yeah.
Last thing, what I just since it's your first time we were talking about Forever here, where does Forever rank on your hierarchy of live action Batman films?
Oh my gosh, let me pull up my letterboxd so I can be accurate to what's online here. So I have a list on my letterboxd, which if anybody does have it, it's the same as my Twitter, which is SMB_Ryan. I have a list that is live action Batman films ranked. I have it ranked at number 7. So I have Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, Batman Returns, 89, The Batman, and then Batman Forever.
Okay.
So it's like right in the middle, not because I don't like it, but because all the other ones are so hard to beat. So it's like right in the middle, but it could switch spots pretty easily with
Sometimes
some of the other ones.
it's hard for me sometimes to separate the Dark Knight trilogy, you know,
Yeah,
because it's
it's
such
so hard. It's
and
undoubtedly like it's always at the top 3. It's
yeah.
top 3.
So
Easily.
they're always up. They're up there. The Batman I'm telling you, it may become number one.
It keeps creeping up for me.
Yeah. And you gotta get the Batman and Dark Knight trilogy. You catch me on certain days, I'll put Forever in front of 89.
Sure.
Depending on my mood.
I can totally see that.
They're kind of interchangeable for me. So, right there you go. All right, that'll do it for this chapter of Batman on Film, chapter by chapter, Batman Forever. Now, so Rachel will finish up here, and for Ryan, I'm Bill. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
You have been listening to Batman on Film, chapter by chapter, a BatmanOnFilm.com podcast revisiting the cinematic adventures of the Dark Knight, scene by scene, chapter by chapter. Follow Jett on Twitter at Batman on Film. For BOF news only, follow at the Batman on Film on Twitter. To become a BOF patron, go to patreon.com/BatmanOnFilm. To advertise on BOF, visit advertisecast.com/BatmanOnFilm. For Jett and Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original. Batman on Film. Established in 1998.
Batman flying night sky. Jett had a dream, now we're flying high. Since 98, it's been online. All the Bat fans gather and shine. Dark Knights and Gotham tales, rockets with stories and never fail. We love the Bat, right from the start. Batman on film, straight to our heart. Jett's on the mission, spreading the word. Every bat flick, every unheard, classic tales and brand new Batman movies bring shades of blue. From the Joker's laugh to the hero's call, Batman time, standing tall. We love the Bat, right from the start. Batman on film, straight to our heart. That family full of cheer. Since 98, we feel the thrill, keeping the Bat vibes alive still. We love the Bat, right from the start. Batman on film, straight to our heart.